if you're interested in any country or culture, one good way of finding out about it is reading its best crime fiction.
What's interesting about television adaptation and television drama, and particularly now the long-form dramas that we have, is it sort of is going back to that episodic nature that you get in a 19th century novel. A lot of 19th century novels were written in that way.
Yeah.
And they were shared that way, you know, they would be read out loud.
As you were talking, I was looking over your shoulder at this thing here, the Sherlock, which I found one of the most objectionable pieces of crap.
Are you talking about the whole thing or one particular?
No, all of it.
All of it.
All of it. Because I'll tell you why. It treats the audience like morons. It says, don't expect to keep up with any of this because look, it's Sherlock Holmes, you prat. You're not going to keep up with this guy because all his thought process is happening at 100 miles an hour in the air in little graphic things.
You're going to go for it as well.
I just want to, I can't miss out on the slagging off of the new Sherlock.
Great Britain, the British Council are fleeing the country after this.
My problem with it is not that the plots are rubbish, although they are rubbish. But, you know, sometimes books or TV shows try really hard and can't quite get the plotting right. The Killing, the Scandinavian scratchy jumper show, was brilliant for the first 19 episodes. In the last episode, where everything had to come together, it came together in a very flawed way. Yeah. But they tried. What I can't forgive this Sherlock for is its frivolous attitude to plot.
By and large, the best television crime drama is not adaptation, it's original drama made for television that isn't trying to force the shape of a novel into a television drama. So when you consider things like, you know, Prime Suspect, when you consider things like the more recent Happy Valley, these were things that were written for television with that form at the front of the writer's minds. And they work far, far better than trying to ram a 400-page crime novel into a 90-minute episode. It can't be done properly.
Okay, were you on the brink of a Sherlock vindication now?
Well, I rather enjoy its glibness and shallowness. I like the music, the relationship with Watson. I'm quite happy to skate along with it most of the time. Yeah. I'm sure everyone's right about the plot, but it goes past in a flash, and I'm happy enough.
I've been a bit quiet about plot because I actually don't think I'm any good at plot. And I never really think about plot, to be honest, and I am one of those writers that Sophie hates, where I make it up as I go along. And I never ever know what the ending is going to be. Often I don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter. Sometimes I write plans, but nearly always I throw them away. And really they're just to make me feel like I know what I'm doing. What I care about quite a lot, I think, is getting from one scene to another. So that is making you care about the stuff that's happening in a certain scene enough to want to read the next scene and to find out what happens to those characters. But I certainly wouldn't ever sit down and think, this is what's going to happen in my novel, because I think if I did, by the time I got to the end, I'd be really bored, and actually I wouldn't really want to write it. Because for me, writing a plot, writing a novel, is about finding out what's going to happen. You know, it's kind of like reading, but a more intense form.
Hey, can we give you the microphone? One of the mic.
I don't need a microphone.
Okay.
I was just going to interject 2 words at that point. Benedict Cumberbatch.
When I first came to Berlin, I spent weeks tramping around with a notebook in my hand, and to some extent it felt like I was indeed a kind of detective, because at that particular time there was hardly any information published about what it was like to be an ordinary German in the 30s, which was really what I was interested in, was to try and explore the mindset of people whose country had been hijacked by a bunch of gangsters.
Well, I have to explain one small thing to you. That you know, one of the things that police officers tend to do is they give each other nicknames, and the sidekick of Detective Chief Inspector Karen Pirrie is Detective Constable Jason Murray. Now, I'm going to have to explain this to you because it doesn't make sense in the German translation, which translates, his nickname is the Mint. And in the German translation, it's just translated as mince drops. Which, I don't know why you find this so funny, but you apparently do. But the reason, you don't, there's no explanation really for why this might be. And it comes from an advertisement for a particular kind of sweets in the UK, which were called Murray Mints. And the slogan was, Murray Mints, too good to hurry mints. And one of the things about Jason is that he doesn't hurry. So it's an ironic nickname. I just thought I'd better explain that to you in case you thought I'd taken complete leave of my senses.
I wanted to look at how charismatic people are very dangerous. And charismatic anything, a charismatic politician is very dangerous because it clouds your judgment. And I think with Harry, we do get drawn. And obviously, the first scene, I wanted to establish that there's a sexual attraction as well. There's a homoerotic attraction. And there's, you get that with people that aren't homosexual or apparently homosexual, men, who get very, very excited about strong men because I suppose it's something they want to be. And in a sense, in an ordinary world, we do want to have more control over our lives, more agency in our decisions, more power, I suppose. And I think that is the danger. That is the danger of, and so I wanted it to be a warning. I didn't want it to sort of say, isn't this person great? Because they're not. They're not.
I don't really like this idea of, writing as therapy and that, you have to write about your own painful experiences in order to sort of give yourself closure or whatever. But with this novel, I have to say I did feel that I kind of needed to write it, that there was something about having a child that was so traumatic that I had to write it, that I did have to write about it.
I keep intending not to write another book about the Victorians and finding myself doing so, but I think it feels to me an incredibly rich period in English history in that it's very close to where we are still. I live in a converted flat in a Victorian house. My railway stations are Victorian, the tube stations, and I think a lot of our sort of structures and ways of being were forged in that period.
I just loved, and I still love, that feeling of this is so weird, this is so mysterious, I can't actually think of any explanation. Not only do I not know who did it and why, but I can't even conceive of a possible reason for doing this. It seems impossible. And then the challenge, when you then get to the end and it's revealed to be totally possible and eminently logical if you're a bit strange, then that's just a brilliant feeling.